Did you pick one of them?
Oh,
Oh my goodness. Oh my
no.
goodness. The fencer in me is dying. I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God. What's that bouncing they're doing? Is that supposed to be like
I
some kind of
don't
boxing
know.
thing? I don't know.
Foxy boxing. It's really embarrassing.
Those poor women.
It's just so,
Who thought? I mean, look,
they're poor constituents.
well, I don't know. It's like
Sorry.
which is more cringe, right? That I mean
Hmm.
that they thought that was a good idea, that somebody talked them into it, that they put a teensy bit of effort into the editing, right? Because they all look like they're falling, which means they had to start the recording by jumping.
Yes, it's very impressive. Oh, gosh, this is not helping stop these people from saying the 19th should be repealed, okay? It's
Maybe
not
it's well.
helping.
He's like, so this is our theme. Right? I mean, come on. What's so wrong with what they did? Come on. Why is it cringe?
Why is it cringe?
Mm.
Because they're congresswomen. And I expect a little more dignity and self-respect out of them and seriousness because they have a serious job. And I can already hear I can already hear the response to this in my head. Well, you can have fun and still be, still be a congresswoman. And oh God, I just don't even want to try to. I don't even want to try to mouth out the words that they may be saying. It's just so.
What that they're
It's,
saying to themselves and choosing. Okay, so it's like on the
yeah,
one hand, it obviously this was a woman thing because it's all women, right? That they
it's a child thing. That's what bothers me. I actually, my
Is our
reaction when I
topic
first saw
tonight
this was
women or is it fun? Which is take
it was
choose your
anger.
choose
I
your
was
fun.
angry. I was
I need
angry
you
on
to
behalf of all
express
women.
this. Come on, let's let it out. Let it out. We're all here for you. We're
Well,
not
as I
really.
said,
This is the internet. Everybody's going to mock us no matter what we do.
yeah, when it first came out, I thought, I remember these suffragettes, and some of them
Mm,
were severely beaten in jail and had their lives ruined just trying to get the right to vote, and they were trying to be intimidated out of trying to push this.
right.
And 100 years later, they're doing TikTok videos, making themselves cute and relatable. It's
Could
embarrassing.
you do that again? That was fun.
Yeah,
No, but okay,
yeah, I
but
don't want
okay, yes, cute, relatable, but I mean, the suffragists chained themselves to railings and stuff. They did a lot of things that people at the time thought were indecorous, but precisely
right,
because they wanted to make. I mean, this is like to
right, but
me,
they were getting they
you're
were trying to be they were trying to bring attention to what they thought was an injustice. I'm sorry, but what were these twits doing?
the same.
What injustice? The injustice of nobody thinks I'm cool anymore, or
Yeah,
young,
yeah.
or hot,
Come
or
on. You don't love them as women already. They need to like overdo it by doing some kind of little TikTok. Here we are,
that's
our
not what they
characters
what
for you.
yeah, what they did wasn't a woman thing. What they did was a child thing. It was immature and it was embarrassing and it was beneath their station because they actually have one and they
Yes.
have a platform and they're abusing it this way.
Okay, so I'm gonna play off of what I heard Avita talk about this morning because I thought she had some good thinking on it. Once we don't have you all be, I don't know whether you'd be disappointed or relieved. We don't have the Trump team did a response and they actually like use clips from real events and things like that and managed to make this kind of here's the team assembling sort of thing look not cringe,
Yes, I did see that.
right?
Yeah. No, we've
So
already chosen our fighters and it was dignified.
well, and that they
None of
chose them, they've actually like they've actually been fighting things for real,
yes, right,
whereas the
right.
the choose your fighter and this is what like I mean their premises were fighting the usual thing, which is
Let me guess, the patriarchy.
yeah, presumably.
Yeah. You fight the patriarchy by acting like a teenager, right? And
Why?
saying,
I
look at
mean,
me, I'm
this is
still young and pretty.
yes, well, this is an interesting problem. To fight the patriarchy, we have to do what? Act like children?
You have to act like teenage girls, apparently. but not particularly bright ones either.
How does that fight the patriarchy? They're all wearing pants. Does that help?
Oh, you're so funny.
I can do it
No,
without even meaning to. Why are you laughing? I clearly
like
I
these
clearly hit
pants were
I clearly hit her funny bone tonight.
uh, they're wearing their strong, powerful yet still approachable, funny, cool, hip costume.
Mhm.
Congressman,
Oh, we
congressman,
had so we
sorry,
had
congressperson
but
costume
look,
because we
we'll
can't
go
have
back to the
women.
well. So this is where we left you all worrying about what women are. We got two congresswomen here, right? Mace and the other one, whose name McBride.
Yeah, Sarah McBride.
McBride. Okay, right. So here they are in their suits and costumes, and this is their. I mean, they are sitting there dignified in their professional. Their stop it. Why are you laughing?
This is so funny tonight. No, Sarah
I,
McBride is wearing femme face. It's not dignified. It's insulting.
but she's in a suit.
He
Okay.
he's in a suit.
And the other the CEO person is in a suit too, right? He she's
She is, and
she
I remember discussing this with you last week. I had a different picture in mind because I can't see these while we're doing them. I'd only seen them beforehand, but I had a couple of CEO pictures, and one of them actually looked more feminine. The one that you're showing right now, she does look like she's wearing a man suit. It's not cut for a woman. That's completely different.
and she's standing
So
there in
yeah,
a well, I the thing is
yeah,
this is a
very
woman,
yeah,
it's not
right.
really a masculine posture in either, right? This hand, this arm gesture
It's
that she
actually a
has.
very yeah. It's I think it's meant. I don't know what it's meant to do, but I always thought that when you cross your arms like this, it is a protective move, like
Yeah, well
this,
this, I mean, if okay, if a
right?
man would do it like this, I think there's something that she's doing in it with just okay, so it's subtle.
Yeah.
Which we're saying the TikTok video. It's like we got it. It's like everybody left. People came in and then they've left already.
They heard my diatribe, and
it's
I just they
okay. Yes,
just didn't want to
Chad
hear
Bianchi
from
is
me.
modern women and dignities laughing. A, a rogue wave.
It's
I
not
had
that
the
it's
I
not that
am
it's a
women hear
modern
me
woman.
roar vibe. Yes.
Yeah.
Chad, I doubt any of them actually ever played Smash Bros. And it's just shows. Okay, this is okay. One layer of the why it was cringe. It's outside of their culture, and that's why it's so cringe. It's just not part of their person. It's in fact, yes, that's a
Hello,
fair
fellow teenagers, right?
hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hello Fellow Teenagers was huge on it. That they were
Hmm.
trying to be gain respect by way of behaving as if they think kids would like, which is what you're responding to with the it's childish.
Right. Right. They think there's a huge voting population out there of a certain age, and they assume that when those people of a certain age, to get them engaged in politics, you have to be frivolous. The thing is, if somebody's going to be engaged in politics, that's at least one aspect of their personality that's not frivolous. It's serious. It's like how do I want my world to look? How do I want it to work? Right, and then they will vote. So this is not a way to engage people. I mean, they are treating it like a high school popularity contest, and I'm not. I mean, people have said before that works. I really would think what works on people is rhetoric. It does work on them.
Oh, this yes, it's a kind. It's so what the
This was worse,
the
though.
teasing apart is like they think it's a kind of rhetoric, which is saying that they. I mean, one. I mean, okay. So I did have to like consult with the experts who actually played some of these games. Like, what is the choose your fighter
Yeah.
thing, right? So Chad's saying it's Smash Bros. I thought it was Mortal Kombat.
Well, I mean,
It's
there's
an
a couple of games that do
arcade
stuff like
game,
that.
right? It's like you have
Yeah.
to pick the character that you are
Right.
going to be and fight, which they don't seem to have understood. And then I thought it was actually the I was thinking the music seemed wrong to me because in my head there was the Choose Your Fighter Barbie song, which I love. I think it's great. But which may be playing off of that, and then it's just like okay, so it's almost like they slammed together too many different cultural reference, and it didn't work at all on any of those levels for sure.
Well, okay, I'll accept that. I don't know much about any of those games because it's way after my time as a young person, which I'm not anymore. But that just the visual. effect was bad. It was just bad. Yeah, I can't say it any more forcefully than I already have. It looked undignified, and it didn't look fun. It looked like we're trying to look fun, hello fellow teenagers, right? It
Right.
was
No,
just,
that's definitely what they were after,
yeah.
because they have they're haunted now by Barron Trump advising his dad on which podcast to go on.
Oh, okay.
Right. And
Okay,
oh,
that's
we
that.
no, because their campaign, the women's campaign, very much lost the younger demographic. And so they're just
What, you
like,
mean the screeching didn't work?
apparently
It's
not.
shocking.
And of course
Things don't work either.
AOC is up, I think in the clip on hers is like she's the youngest of something, right? It's like they're trying to recreate what they had with her to start with, which was, oh, we've got this young 20 something, however old she is.
Well,
It's
she was,
young,
yeah, she was,
fashionable. Remember back when she was first elected, and it was they did not. We should have looked up some. I've gone back to just us because I can't talk with the other four women
yeah.
on screen. They did a lot of fashion shoots with her in very elegant pantsuits, and she's going to be the. Are you trapped?
Oh,
She's going to be
Mr.
the
Gray.
face of the younger generation, and here she is again. But of course,
Well, that's what
by
they were
now
trying to
she
promote,
looks.
but
Now
she
she
was a
does.
cardboard cutout.
That's fine, but she doesn't even look young anymore. She looks old in that, missing the feeling of what it is that the people Barron's age are actually intrigued by or interested
It's
in.
true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, would she know? I mean, according to what you just said, no. The answer is no. No, she wouldn't. None of them would.
That they're all millennials, or they're just old enough to not get what they think they are appealing to. But the problem is, of course, the millennials all grew up with Obama.
Mhm.
And he did that kind of stuff all the time.
Obama could speak well. He could read. He could read off a teleprompter really well. I mean, honestly, I think he missed his calling as an actor.
Carnival barker? No way.
The actor. I mean, he had a beautiful voice.
Oh, what, you think he's not?
And Carnival Barker?
Or
No,
actor?
that's a different type of personality. Yeah. Actor,
Anyway,
maybe.
yeah. Well, but I mean, that's
Anyway, my point is he did it well. What they're trying to do, he did well.
well. Some would accuse Trump of actually simply being an actor too, right? He's so actually, guys. Obviously, straight up, what Trump's done is won the reality TV competition.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
you have to know on television how to draw the audience, get them to choose you, and he did, right? He did. So it's almost as if Trump is embarrassing because he's older than all of these people, and yet with Barron's wisely listening to his youngest son,
Yeah.
understanding the media performance that he's actually in, which to me, I think this is fine. We're finally agreeing why the women doing the Choose Your Fighter are so embarrassing. They don't know how to use the media that they're actually thinking that they're playing in, right? It's the
Yeah.
TikTok might actually not be a bad mode to use if you want to get some kind of information across, but it's like
Yeah, it's not the tool, it's what they did with it.
right.
Yeah.
But the reason they think it is, and this is where the sort of women and men problem come back in, is, okay, one, I think it's cringe because maybe that last woman actually does like boxing classes in her gym or something, but the others, they clearly have no idea how to stand, right? I'm just like, you're bouncing. What are you doing?
You're judging their combat.
I am.
That's funny.
I am
wasn't
totally
because
just
it's-
on guard, ladies. What are you doing? I know you don't fight because there is no way.
They're boxing. That's what you remember what that was?
No.
Okay.
They're not even pretending to be fighters.
No, that was what boxing was. It was in the early 90s.
Okay.
They would have these like supermodel looking type people or lingerie models get in a ring and box each other out and box each other. So they would jiggle everywhere, right? It was called foxy boxing. It was a bit like the glorious ladies of wrestling, right?
Mud wrestling for ladies, but without the mud.
But there were mud wrestling, yeah, right, without the mud, right? So that's what they were doing. They were trying to look cute while pretending to box.
So it gets worse and worse the more I think about it.
I know that I wasn't saying, oh, how did they throw a punch? They weren't trying to throw a punch. They were foxy boxing.
Okay, so but this is this is interesting. It's like, so on the confusing layers that they're in. One, hello, fellow kids, right? Which is embarrassing at all levels. Two, there are women who are wanting to say, we're the better choice for you in this masculine setting, which is why they're all wearing pants rather than dresses. The masculine setting being, of course, the difficulty of political argument, which is what they have to be in, right? So as women, they are trying to persuade other women to vote for them so that these women can go in and argue with men effectively.
Be with us. We're cool. We sit at the cool table. We're the cool kids. We're the cool girls.
Okay, so there's no men involved in any of this, right? It's just like, if there's enough of us girls at the girl table, we'll take over Congress.
Yes. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure a lot of women politicians have thought that, of the feminist variety have thought that, and I don't think they have to be the same thing. But predominantly they were. Right, you're a feminist saying we're going to take over Congress, and when we're going to rule the world, and war will cease, and men will finally do what we want and act the way we want. Right,
which is to not be there. I think the thing is, I always, when we're talking, I it's like the painful unlayering of the problem is, yes, of course, it's interesting because in academia, women have basically pretty much won in certain fields, that there aren't any men left.
And it's a pity. And it's true that there are very few male teachers in high school and grade school,
right,
too, and that is a real pity.
Right. So that I mean, this with the choose your fighter, on the one hand, they don't want to fight. They don't actually want to fight anybody or anything, because the bouncy thing that they're doing is, I mean, it's not an on guard. Maybe it is in boxing. I don't know, but it did not look like they were prepared to actually engage with somebody else, which is ironically what men will do, right? It's like if you put them in a boxing situation, they expect to get hit and to hit. They expect to have an actual engagement. The women's choose your fighter bouncy is, they don't want to actually have any competition. I just feel that it's none of those women actually want to do what I was doing last night at practice, which is battling men, because there's also some very strong women in our group now. They're high school age women. But I go in, I on guard, I know all of the layers of problem, that it's like, I'm a woman, they're not going to hit me as hard. They know that. They a little bit resent it because they can't hit me as hard as they would hit each other. But they're good sports, so they'll fence me in practice, and I'm old, so they'll fence me too. And, I can banter with them and stuff. I know they're going to beat me, blah, 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 blah. None of that was visible in these women's video of, we're going to be your fighter.
Yeah. We're going to be your fighter. They don't look like they are. You're right. They don't look like they're disciplined. It's a popularity thing.
Right. So the choice, it's not even you. They don't want. They want you to choose them, but as like the girls, they all want to be. I mean, and they do all want to be equally. It's like one of those, the Victoria's Secrets lineups where they're all equally beautiful, right? So they all have to look the same, which is fine. I don't mind that, but the ultimate goal here is to be what the women in the pink suits wanted to be in the speech this week. The ones in the audience with the little paddles, right? The little paddles, it's like they want all of them to be in the group, right? And so the fighting of this is. And this it's like, I could just give you a list of the things that I think define women, but is this more fun or worse? We've got a huge audience now. It must be okay. What they want to do is take over the room, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or at least intimidate other people into being quiet, right? Intimidate other people in the science, especially other women, especially.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because they've frankly cowed the men, which is one of the reasons they hate Donald Trump with the fiery hot passion of a million suns.
Oh man.
because
We hope
yeah,
everybody,
because
we
he
just
won't put up
assume
with
you
it.
had to watch the speech on Tuesday. I mean, you better have enjoyed it as much as we did.
He was good. He was good. He didn't get rattled. He didn't let them. He didn't let them derail his speech at all. Right? He had. They were following protocols. They did kick out. What is his name?
Al
Green.
Green, yeah.
Agree. The guy who was shaking his cane. The one who. This is hilarious. In case people have forgotten, several weeks ago, Green introduced impeachment proceedings for, and I quote, dastardly deeds.
Oh, he is from Texas. He is. Green is the Texas. Yeah, he's got dastardly deeds. Okay, well that's cool. I mean, actually, Green. I was very pleased with that. Was a very masculine exchange in the. So Green, whatever he's saying, since he's not.
Oh, you think so?
Yes, and I'll explain why. One, it's not true that men always behaved well, for goodness sake, but they have rules for what to
No.
do in that situation, right? Which is throw him out, right?
Yes, throw him out. Yeah.
But that you couldn't hear what he was saying because he wasn't mic'd, right? So
He wasn't mic'd, but he was trying to talk over Trump, which to me is female energy, not male energy. He's trying to shut him up. Don't talk.
okay, fair. But what Johnson did as speaker was saying, we should have decorum. You're going to follow the rules here.
Yes.
You're not following the rules. You're out, right? And
that was great.
And as for
because it did it immediately.
And they just took him out, right? And I didn't see Green like throw himself on the ground and start temper tantruming or anything.
Don't think he could get back up.
He's a senior gentleman. He left, right? So there's the thing. Okay, this is why I don't entirely agree with you about the suffragettes being noble in the way that you were trying to describe, because like, yes, they risked real things like getting thrown in jail. Will you be quiet? Are you stuck?
He's just agreeing with you.
What? Suddenly he wants to be on camera tonight. You can't be.
He wants to get in on the conversation.
Here, clearly. Okay. So the suffragettes purposely made themselves pests.
Yes.
Because that's how they got arrested, right? Or they went on hunger strikes, or right,
but they were abused after they were arrested.
Chained themselves to railings and such.
Yeah.
Right. And this sort of I can't concentrate when you're doing that. Are you stuck? Are you stuck under there, or you ran out of chew toy? You're not stuck. You can get out. Here, look, I'll move all the table and everything.
I see his little ears.
All right, there you go. There you go. The people might like to see you, but you're too short. You saw his ears?
I did. His little ears sticking up behind your chair.
He always gets a chew stick when I start, and he clearly either lost it or finished it. Did you lose it? I've got a giant audience tonight. Shh.
Maybe he was just vociferously agreeing with you or me, one of us.
I don't know. Now I've totally lost my concentration. Anyway,
you were talking about you were saying they weren't quite as noble as I thought.
We're right, and we're sort of we're in the kind of dangerous zone of exactly what women's role should be, right? And they were trying to insist that they should have a role in government, at least in the sense of voting, right? And then I think as soon as there had already been women elected to Congress before the women could vote, I believe.
Well, I don't have enough knowledge about that. I know
there's all of these firsts,
the right to vote.
right? Yeah, like Wyoming.
Yeah,
and
there have
stuff
been
like
firsts in
that.
states, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
because that states with low populations, especially.
Right. So the primary opening claim is women are part of this society, and so should also be part of the political conversation. And and therefore have the right to. I mean, is it a straight line to the suffragettes and the choose your fighter, or has something gone off the rails?
No, something's totally gone off the rails, because I mean, There were women that ran for office after women got the right to vote. They ran for federal office, but there weren't a lot of them until the 1970s and 80s, I think.
Right.
So,
So you're saying when there's only a few women around, they will behave.
or they well, will they behave, or it's not even that they'll behave. I mean, I don't know. There's something else going on there, because this is, I hope, as bad as it's ever going to get with this video. But I mean, that's just really poor judgment on their part. Maybe they had, a consulting firm saying, "Yeah, we got to copy what Barron's doing." It was, what are the young kids like in these days? Let's make a video. It could have been something that stupid, right? But I do expect people. I expect women to be smarter than that, than to fall for it. I just do.
You're wanting contradictory things here, my dear.
Am I?
Well, okay, so this is the essentialist question, right? It's like, are the women behaving like women, or are they behaving
Well, they're behaving like twits. I can't even say they're behaving like children, because some children are smart. I mean, it was definitely a bad decision, because it's a bad look. It's a bad, unserious look. Why would I want you to go to Congress for me? You did this. I don't want you in Congress now.
Well, some
Even if I
might
did
say
before.
that they are unfortunately fulfilling all the stereotypes.
What's the stereotypes?
Women are irrational. That's all there is to that. Their heads are full of cotton, hay, and rags. They're nothing but exasperating, irritating, vacillating, calculating, agitating, maddening, infuriating hags. Why can't a woman be more like a man? Why can't a woman be more like a man? Men are so honest, so thoroughly square, eternally noble, historically fair. Who, when you win, will always give your back a pat. Why can't a woman be like that? Why does everyone do what the others do? Why can't a woman learn to use her head? Why do they do everything their mothers do? Why don't they grow up like their father instead? Why can't a woman take after a man? Men are so pleasant, so easy to please. Whenever you're with them, you're always at ease. Would you be slighted if I didn't speak for hours? Male friend, of course not. Would you be livid if I had a drink or two? Nonsense. Would you be wounded if I never sent you flowers? Never. Well, why can't a woman be like you? One man in a million may shout a bit. Now and then there's one with slight defects. One perhaps whose truthfulness you doubt a bit. But by and large, we are a marvelous sex. Why can't a woman behave like a man? Men are so friendly, good-natured, and kind. A better companion you never will find. If I were hours late for dinner, would you bellow? Of course not. If I forgot your silly birthday, would you fuss? Nonsense. Would you complain if I took out another fellow? Never. Well, why can't a woman be like us? Why can't a woman be more like a man? Men are so decent, such regular chaps, ready to help you through any mishaps, ready to buck you up whenever you're glum. Why can't a woman be a chum? Why is thinking something women never do? Why is logic never even tried? Straightening up their hair is all they ever do. Why don't they straighten up the mess that's inside? Why can't a woman be more like a man? If I was a woman who'd been to a ball, been hailed as a princess by one by all, would I start weeping like a bathtub overflowing, carry on as if my home were in a tree? Would I run off and never tell me where I'm going? Why can't a woman be like me? Said a man.
I've got to watch that again. Oh, if I didn't know where they came from, I'd say,
hymn
"What's my
to
name on
him
that?"
is apparently the name of it. Points in the
Yes.
chat if you all recognize what that was. We've stunned them into listening.
Stun them into silence.
But
If they
okay,
don't know what it is, they should watch it.
it's My Fair Lady, everyone. And the
Yeah.
irony of, okay, the irony of this is, of course, Henry Eggins doesn't understand why Eliza is upset because he's dressed her up, taken her to the ball, and he's not in love with her. Like, actually he is. But she wishes he were more attentive
won't
to
show
her,
it.
and he won't show it.
Yeah.
And so he's mad, but of course what he is clueless about what she actually wants. But haven't you heard all of this before? I mean, just women are
Yeah.
irrational. Exasperating, irritating, vacillating, calculating, agitating, maddening, infuriating hags. Is he wrong? Is he
I want to point
wrong?
out that that Henry Higgins's mother was consistently embarrassed by his public behavior, not just around ladies, but around men too. So he was a bit clueless himself all around.
Yes. Why can't a woman be more like a man? I mean,
Well,
why does everyone do what
that
the
would be very
others
boring.
do? The dog is really desperate to disturb the set tonight. I mean, why do they?
Your
Why did
male dog, I might point out.
it's a male dog? So in the gendered reality of things, male dogs are different from female dogs. I've noticed
They
this.
are.
Yes, they pee on
They
everything. No,
are. This,
they're
female dogs are smarter, actually. I always thought. Did you think that?
he definitely thinks every dog girl dog in the dog park is his girlfriend. And will fight the other dogs. And if you have a threesome in there, he's telling them off and stuff like that. My girl dog Joy didn't want to play with anybody, so
Calmer,
she was
huh?
she well
Yeah.
no she was very nervous with the other dogs, which maybe because it was
Oh.
me, because I wasn't a good trainer, because he's my second one, not my first. My first one I was a bad
Mm.
mom. Who knows, right? But okay, so layers down. Henry Higgins is he doesn't understand why Eliza's upset, which I guess he eventually learns, right? Because otherwise there's no plot. But
Yeah.
he's expressing the kind of thing that, for example, we kind of hear around in the internet occasionally, maybe sometimes, that women are frustrating, and of course they're frustrating because he's frustrated with her because he doesn't understand why she's upset.
Right. But the women are as rational creatures. That's something you hear all the time.
Right. So you hear these
Um,
things: irrational, they're emotional, manipulative. I mean, we were just saying that it's like you're going to want all the women to behave
mhm.
like the other women. It's like, and they all do that. Why can't? I mean,
Yeah.
occasionally some of us behave like our fathers, but we really don't because we're really women. Men. I mean, I do find this as a truth, right? And you can watch it. And I hang out in enough male mostly spaces. I'm unfortunately like Nancy Mace. I seem to end up in spaces that are used to be all male and they're not anymore because I'm there. But you can see it just in watching the men's live streams. It's like a group of men on a live stream is actually very. I like hanging out, listening to men have what some women might think are incredibly boring conversations. I find incredibly
Mhm.
soothing, right? The men are sitting around talking about finances and politics, and that's usually what they
Yeah.
talk about: finances and
Interesting stuff.
politics. And
Yeah.
or I mean, if they're okay, just go off. If they're fencers, they're talking about strategy and game and exactly what they did in the last bout, and they could remember every
Mhm.
bout they've ever had in excruciating detail. Some women I know can do that, but most women talk about the social experience of the event,
Hmm.
not the blow by blow that they just went through. Because
Mhm.
I'm convinced. I'd say I always want to warm us up so that we get to the point where all these points make sense. But I am convinced we process everything differently socially. And I've thought about this a lot in fencing, which is probably why I'm so irritated with the congresswomen not getting it, because they're in a men's space and they're not behaving properly. Women, okay, women mostly worry about belonging to the group. That's just baseline thing that you were just saying, that the thing that those congresswomen all want to prove is they're part of the cool kids table, and if you want to be anybody, you
Mhm.
need to be at their table, and they really the only way they can imagine things functioning properly is if everyone else is a woman and does that, right? And they
Mhm.
talk about that way, and they do it to each other in academia now, right? We have whole fields that are basically women, and the main thing they do when they get in a group of other women, even very intellectual women, is agree with each other and talk about how good it is that someone is like so brave to talk, and we're here for you.
Yeah.
I mean, and for someone like me, that's excruciating because on the one hand, I want to belong. I'm a woman. Yes, I checked. It's true. And I want to belong. I want to have that social experience of feeling like I'm part of the group. But on the other hand, I disrupt it constantly, which is incredibly painful because you get thrown out.
Mm.
but But on the other hand, I wish they were able to have the kinds of debates that the men have and not throw each other out over them, right? It's
Mhm. There's a interesting thing I just remembered. So when Trump's State of the Union address during his first term, I can't remember if it was his first or his last, but this was one where all the women decided they called each other up and said, we're going to all wear white, not pink that this time. We're going to all wear white this time, right? And this was Nancy was ripping up his speech like some petulant little toddler behind him. Christine Sinema of Arizona was clapping. She was like enthusiastically clapping to something Trump had said. And another woman senator walked up to her, and you could actually read the lips yourself. She said, "You better watch yourself."
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right in front of everybody.
Exactly. So politically, women are social, which meaning that they're mainly concerned with the group dynamics in that sense, right? It's like defining the group inside, outside. You need to behave, otherwise you're out of the group. And if you're out of the group as a woman, you're doomed, right? Because you have no network of support. You're cut off from all resources. It's never mind Scarlett O'Hara, right? It's you're just it's death. And they know that, and we know that. And even knowing that and knowing how dumb it is for me to do this, I will still do it, which you can therefore chart my career and read my Wikipedia page. I just like the men because they're doing something. They're doing something socially that's so completely different.
It seems more constructive than what the women do.
Well, they're different games, right? And this is, I'd say this constantly. Gender studies would be a fascinating and robust field, except the women can't admit what we're doing.
It's because gender studies used to be women's studies. Is there no women's studies anymore? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been in college.
Not really. Yeah, you're right. It started out as women's studies, and then they shifted it to gender studies. But you're absolutely right. It was always still women's studies, and but even as a bit, the problem being that you can't say, if you say out loud, we're going to be thrown out of the sisterhood tonight after this episode. You realize? I'm sorry if you were holding out hope.
No, I gave that up decades ago. I can't keep my opinions to myself, so I was out pretty early.
and the problem is if only I could be a Veronica, right? If only it's like somehow turn the tide so that the group went with me instead of with the Heathers, right? Yeah. That's the fantasy. Like men have certain kind of nerd fantasies in the movies, right? Women's are always the Veronica fantasy, right? I will figure out how to be the new sheriff in town. I want to be that character so much. But it's a total fantasy because it will never work, right? Maybe occasionally, right? Just like you want to be the one that comes in, disrupts the mean girls, makes them stop doing that to each other, adopts the poor girl at the end of the movie, right? Where the woman who's tried to kill herself is in her little wheelie chart, wheeling around Veronica. It's like, take care of everybody because that's what we do. But protect them from the mean ones that are going to hurt each other. If only that would work.
Well, it's funny because even the other women won't. They'll only let you protect them so far, because if there's even half a chance that they'll get back in with the group, they'll still dump the woman who's helping them. That's how
very
attractive
true.
The group is.
Very true. The group is the sisterhood. Okay, so. Deep truths, all of these things. You guys are still with me. RDB sing just like Rex Harrison. Yeah, I can't sing. Thank you, Silent Draco. You all had you had me when Proud to be an American. That's the only one you're getting until I super duper practice. Chad saying, Casey, you're also imagining they're all women are like you. You were expecting.
Oh no, we not.
He says you're expecting them to be intelligent, rational, and thoughtful. Most are not. Brutal. Actually, women are very smart, but not. We'll get there a second. Daydreamer, it's partially us men's fault. Yes, we'll get to that. As soon as the age of movies, cartoons, comics, and videos games came around, one of our hobbies has been to invent women who like to do guy stuff without girlifying it. Fair point. misguided.
Dream the dream.
Dream the daydreamer. Yeah, dream the dream. So there's all this media with all these women who do and say cool guy stuff. Very fair. Yes, stop writing that stuff. It's not going to happen anymore. No. So that's a fair. Okay. So we're the whole thought of social and how the women behave with each other. But answering the chat, women write romance novels and all want the vampire lover. And I think we have established that it's like Mr. Darcy in every single romance novel
Mr.
ever
Darcy
since.
Mr. Darcy and Matthew Claremont. Yes, this is who we want.
Pardon us while we pause.
Here's the irrational part coming in. Just sneaks in there every once in a while.
It's not just totally rational. These are like you want the date. Okay, so one, I guess this is the I don't know what all women are gamma like, right? In that sense of disrupting the hierarchy kind of problem, because we do, right? You put us in men's group, done. You're done. The men are overdone. Do not let us in. I promise you. You don't pretend that one of those cool girl fighter, characters is going to be able to come in and not completely disrupt your boyfriend group, because we'll kill it instantaneously. And Gladriel is a good guy because she understood that and stayed away. Right, with the fellowship.
People sought her out.
What?
Yeah. People sought her out. She didn't seek them out and push her way in.
She could have. It's like she take the ring. She could have taken over that entire fellowship, and bammo, it's gone. Right. That the no matter what, the women will destroy the men's group. It's just the ironclad rule of reality. Sorry, we don't mean to do it. It just happens. Well,
except for one woman.
Well, it's because she doesn't try to compete as
that's true
fighter, right? She just steps on the dragon and kills him. No, it's like giving the punchline away, right? If you don't have the Virgin Mary, you're all doomed.
Yep. Like literally doomed. Yeah.
Yes. No. It's like there's a reason Mary has the role she does. We're very clear on that. We want to help you see her, but we have to get you to see the problem first. Women write Mr. Darcy. I mean, Jane Austen, set the standard for the entire romance tradition, which
she did. She started it.
It's the same story over and over and over again. Bookish woman gets, brooding, intelligent, handsome man with a lot of property, who can challenge her in her conversations with her, and yet make her feel beautiful and sexy. How many times can you write that novel, ladies? Apparently a lot.
Oh, so many times. So many different time periods.
And occasionally they're actually really fun to read. Right?
They are.
No, I mean, this is so have we talked about Discovery Witches? Maybe we should unpack all of the Matthew de Clermont stuff, right? Discovery Witches, hilarious, written by an actual female academic, professor of early modern history of science. Studied John Dee and stuff, Deborah Harkness. And, it's a hilarious book for me to read because it is so like, oh my God, I hate this book so much because it's every romance I would write. It's like you feel like doomed and stupid because of course you're studying the Bodleian Library and you get the magnificent magical secret manuscript that only you can retrieve because your father put a spell on it. So father is that
was very clever.
Harkness has a lot of really interesting male-female relationship things in there. It's her father that gives her the route to finding out who she really is, fascinatingly. Studying the magic manuscript and brooding, dangerous. They're always dangerous. I can't possibly, scent you without, wanting to rip your throat out. Watching this,
I hate myself for loving you. Right?
Cliche. Every single cliche. There, give me more. Right.
And then we become part of the cliche by liking it so much.
Yes. So come on. I think. What's funny is that the women doing the choose your fighter. It's like in a heartbeat they'd be witches, right? Oh, we're gonna be witches and powerful. It's like nobody wants to be witches. They want the vampires. Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey are best-selling novels for a reason.
Yeah, and
ladies.
50 Shades of Grey was fan fiction of Twilight.
I know. I have not read either of them. Don't let me.
No,
please.
Me either.
Don't.
I almost wanted to watch
I did
Twilight
read
just
all
for
of
Uncle Mark.
Bridgerton.
Oh yeah, because yeah, it
But
it looked
look
pretty
at, come on,
funny
it's
actually.
what?
Twilight, it looked pretty funny actually. We
Twilight.
watched just the ad.
No,
It was funny because it was like everything you're just describing right now about the stereotype of what women want
right.
and the kind of character they would write is
And
perfectly put
apparently
into.
women did. They bought the books.
Yes,
Somebody
they
bought the
did.
books. I
Yeah,
mean,
people end up with the movies, but the books were hugely popular.
allegedly. I mean, hopefully, it's the thing is, I think they were hugely popular, and yet nobody will admit why, right? Because so there's the layers of fantasy, right? The top layer of fantasy is choose your fighter women, right? We're going to be the fighters. We're going to be the fighters. But give women the chance to actually write the scenario that they want to be in. There's a vampire lover somewhere in there who's telling them no, right? I mean, and that's that. Why is Matthew de Clermont and the witches? So he's like, no, I won't. I mean, this is like fascinating. He won't have sex with her until they're married.
No, he won't.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
No, did that? No, and how unusual is that to put into what is essentially a mystery romance novel, right?
Right, written in
And
the
drama.
aughts, came
Yes,
out in
very
early
unusual.
2010s, right? Will not have sex with, they'll do other things, right? But will not have sex with their children. They're actually properly married in church. I'm like,
Right. And it was his father said, don't think you're going to be sleeping in the same room when you're not married.
right, and and his father keeps them apart.
Yeah.
You can't sleep together.
His
I don't care.
father, not
I don't care that
hers.
you've been
Yeah.
traveling across France and camping out
Yeah.
and having. You can't be in the same room until you're properly married. And you're just like going, who wrote this? Oh, somebody my
I know.
age, right? Actually, she's born in the same year I am. Wikipedia finally got it right, 1965. So I'm 60 now, right? Here a witch's story where she's the powerful woman, but everything that's most frisson, like sexy about it, is the thing that we're not supposed to want as feminists, right? Those women in Congress, they want to be in charge of their own life and be able to Oh, the other thing that Discovery Witches is very interestingly incredibly powerful on is the fertility, right? It's
Yes. Yes.
it's literally a story entirely about fertility.
It's about life and trying to preserve life.
Yeah.
And trying to find out why it's failing,
right?
So we can fix it,
right?
It's a very strong theme throughout that story.
And she's actually Diana's actually upset when she finds out that this tea that's been given to her by her now mother-in-law's companion servant, whatever, Martha, right, is the contraceptive, because she's like, no, wait, right, I didn't want that.
Yeah.
So it's like it's undermining everything. It's like the witches, like we've talked about a few weeks ago, some time ago, right, that they're about abortion and contraception. And that the Democrats, they set themselves to be that, right, which is we are the party of abortion and contraception.
And it got so much worse. I didn't even think it could, but my God, it got worse.
Yeah.
With mutilation and suicide and assisted suicide. I mean.
Okay, so the ground, the base, deep question here is which of these things that we're just it's all human nature, but which of these things are really what women are? Right. And the whole claim of feminism for the entirety of our lifetime and for 100 years before that, thank you, Mary Wollstonecraft and company, is, Henry Higgins is just as emotional as the woman he's saying is emotional. I mean,
that's one of the things that's hilarious about it.
Right.
He's just so clueless.
He's clueless.
He's clueless that he's he's having an emotional reaction to her emotional reaction.
Right.
And he's throwing a little bit of a fit to his friend who's older and wiser and trying really hard not to laugh at him while he's listening to this.
Would you mind if I took another fellow out? Of course not.
Yeah, because he knows what's going on. He knows Henry's in love with her.
Right.
And he hasn't realized it yet.
Right. Okay, but the baseline claim that the suffragettes were making. Okay, so there's two contradictory claims that constantly get made. One, all right, that women should be, they should be able to do all the things men do, which ironically, as we talked about last time, means they end up doing things that men do, but not the things women do, right? That like,
Hmm.
wait, the only thing, I mean, people have often pointed this out, and we've done it before on the Mosaic Arc, right? It's like, why do you have to put a woman in armor to make her exciting and significant? Because women,
Yeah,
unless they're in man's roles, are boring. Wait, what?
right.
Right?
That's annoyed me in fiction for a while too. Now we're seeing it in real life. Yeah,
That the women can only be exciting if choose your fighter, right?
right,
These women can't be in
right.
Congress and be anything but fighters. They have to be there as a fighter, not as something else, right? It's like, well, then if you're okay, so one, if you're there and the main thing that's important about you is a woman, so that you're just like a man, then why do we need more women in the first place? Because wouldn't the men just make the same decisions? Oh no, wait, because men aren't women, and the women are going to make different decisions from the men, except for they are going to behave like they are in a man's. Wait, I can't keep this straight.
If it doesn't matter, then why should I vote for a woman? That's what I always said,
Yes,
right?
right.
And what they're saying is it does matter, but it doesn't, but it does, but it
But it
doesn't.
does.
It's
This is
yeah.
when the thing about the Barbie movie, when Gloria gives the speech and she's saying, "Oh, being a woman is all contradictions." It's like, well, yeah, because you're setting yourself up in this situation where you can't. Okay, so the Choose Your Fighter song from the Barbie movie. Here we go. No, you guys, I will not sing it. Oh, maybe. Okay, no, I can't because okay. So we looked her up. We actually have it. We have the here we go. Guys and okay, so remember we've layers here are guys in dresses and Joan of Arc. I rearranged the pictures. But this right here, we got
Oh, yeah.
Ava Max, right? Ava Max, who, according to her Wikipedia entry, which we know are all completely accurate, um, except mine, uh, she's from Albania. Apparently, her parents were from Albania, and she thinks of herself as Albanian.
Ah,
That was the only clue I got. But and she's also 31 right now. Um, born in 1994, right? I thought when with the choose your fighter thing, although the congresswomen are using it, it's apparently from Mortal Kombat and picking your character in the video game. But my first thought
hmm.
was, why is the tune wrong? Because it should be the one for this song. I want to sing it so bad. I love this song. I had it on loop.
Go
This song.
for
I
it.
know I can't.
It's your show. Sing
No,
it.
I can't do it because I don't have her voice. You can be a lover or a fighter, whatever you desire. Life is like a runway and you're the designer. Wings of a butterfly, eyes of a tiger, whatever you want, baby, choose your fighter. Da, da, da. I know this world can be a little confusing, no walk in the park, but I can help you solve the riddle. You're perfect as you are. That usual, right? It's like you can choose,
Yeah.
but you don't need to choose because you're already great. If you want to break out of the box, want to call all of the shots, if you want to be sweet or be soft, then go off. If you want to go 6-inch or flat, want to wear hot pink or black, don't let nobody tell you you can't because you can. Right? These are not my like burning problems, but I do recognize that I
Plug in my computer. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
what kind of fashion I feel like I can wear in what context is of course it's I always wear flats. Are you kidding me? I don't wear 6 inches. What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I did it again. I forgot to plug in. I'm done now. Go ahead.
You're
Promise.
harshing my riff here. Okay.
Sorry.
For you and the dog. He left. Oh no, he fell asleep. He's behind me now. That okay. So the usual the contradiction right in here. It's like this is a fun song, right? And it's like it's got a poppy beat, and I'll listen to it and stuff. But
Hmm.
it's like you can be a lover, fighter, whatever you desire. Life is like a runway, and you're the designer. Okay, so there's the performative, like TikTok-y level of, we're gonna bounce around and pick your fighter, and it's a performance, and
Hmm.
whatever you want, you can choose you. The riddle is you're already perfect. You want to break out of the box, want to call all the shots, right? There's always, always, always. Chaucer said this back in the 14th century. Women want sovereignty, right? They want to
Oh,
be in control,
yeah.
call all the shots. but the calling of the shots is sweet or soft, right? You know, if you want 6 inch or flat, like those are the big choices. It's the fashion choices, which makes it sound silly.
Yeah. Hmm.
You can be a lover or fighter, whatever you desire. Oh, this is the chorus, as they say. Life is like a runway, and you're the designer. Wings of a butterfly, eyes of a tiger, whatever you want, baby. Choose your fighter. Choose your fighter. Choose your fighter. A pretty knight in shining diamonds. A pretty queen in camouflage. It goes, you know, it fits with our Joan of Arc, right? It's like you can be knight in diamonds, queen in battle camouflage. It's giving thunder and lightning when you give it all you got. If you want to break out of the box, want to call all the shots, if you want to be sweet or be soft, then go off. Oh, if you want to go 6 inch or flat, want to wear hot pink or black, don't let nobody tell you can't, because you can. Chorus.
It's very fashion heavy, these lyrics. Go
Well, it
on.
is Barbie. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and I don't even remember what scene this was in. I know I have the soundtrack because I had to study. And just like I like, just as I like Discovery Witches, I happen to have enjoyed the Barbie movie. But it's like a trap that isn't really even there unless you're a woman. And why would you be worried about this anyway? Of course you can do whatever you want. Who's telling you you can't? Oh, right.
Yeah.
Just like you said, that woman did on the clap, clap. Better be careful. Who's telling
Yeah.
us we
Well,
can't?
watch yourself.
Right?
Yeah. Other women.
Other women.
Other women are. Yeah. Yeah. This is the song is a pep talk. I can see where it's from the Barbie movie because it says out of the box, right? Still pretty fashion heavy, but the whole point, I liked the Barbie movie quite a bit. The whole point behind it was that she wanted to be something other than just a fashion plate. I wasn't sure what. She wanted to have a life that wasn't frivolous.
Right. But the pressure, like the, I think I said it, I was moderately inspired when I wrote the blurb for tonight. That it's, I can even look at what I said if I look at here. So it's the question that has everyone up in arms, the choose your fighter one. Why can't a woman be more like a man? Some say we are. It's just the men are misogynist. Others say, me too. Believe all women or else. Being ladies, that's you and me. We have our own opinions. Being ladies of a certain age. We're not afraid to share them, mostly, right? Like, in fact, you get to my age and like you realize you're out of the game so badly that you turn into crazy grandma, right? Which is, you could, no, I promise you, sometimes I like this and sometimes it just makes me sad because I'm so clearly like, talk about out of the box, right? You're no longer, it's like you're the older women post menopause, right? You're not in the game anymore. You don't have all of the same pressures, interestingly, but I feel like I'm like watching a movie a lot, right? It's like, and I just see stuff all the time. It's like, yep, can see that. Yep. You realize why we turn into matchmakers, because you get so plain. Oh, you guys like each other. You should get together. I did this last night at fencing. I was like, the kids that one of the girls dropped an earring that looked like a ring, right? And I gave it to one of the guys to give back to her, and he just like threw it at her or something. I'm like, that's not romantic enough. They were so horrified because the girls are in high school and the guy's a bit older. And I'm like, no, I just, it's like, I may have said something about babies, but it's, you're just like, I see all of these dynamics now. And it's like the older friend that Higgins is saying, it's like, I know you like you, this tension is there. But the problem with the women's tension is like, I hadn't thought about this until just now, how the women's tension changes. Okay, let me see if I can figure out whether I've said the things that I meant to say. One, it's ridiculous to pretend that women are just like men and then claim that you need more of us because we're different. Pick a lane.
Right. That's nuts.
Right.
Yeah. That's it. That I would describe as irrational. Go on.
It is. So do we want to unpack why we do that as a group? Right. The second being that women want to have a group of other women because women's particular power is in that inside outside of that social group. Right. That's literally how we create the world. Right. You need us. and all of this social sexual hierarchy stuff we talked about last year still holds. Without women doing that, you don't have birthday parties and schools and neighborhoods and Jane Jacobs, harassing her neighbors about the way they live in the cities. And right. It's in fact, there's the incredible positive behind women as the charity organizers, the social women, the salon
and there
keepers.
Used to be much more of that before women entered the workforce. And now there's still a lot of that, but they're all old retired women that do this.
Yes.
I mean, I live in an area where there's quite a lot of retirees, and you can't volunteer anywhere because they're constantly doing it. They're so they're coming out of the woodwork. They do.
They like it.
They want to be useful.
You can't. These women are the ones. I mean, in Dorothy Sayers' novels, they're the women who like fight over the responsibility of giving the flowers for the altar. Right.
Yeah.
They're the ones that do the church work. They organize the. I was at mass the other day, and there's one of the older women handing out pamphlet leaflets to go to this pro-life rally kind of thing, and I'm like, you go, girl, right? That women are really, really good at that kind of thing. And what you just said, there used to be more of it before they were all in the men's roles. And they're trying to use like Congress to do that when they should be being women doing their roles. And it's like, why don't we have any society anymore? We all explained it. The fatherless families and the motherless communities.
The motherless communities. And having all the retired women doing everything, I don't think that's a great thing either, because you need a mix. You need youth in there.
Yes.
Yeah, badly, from what I've seen.
Well, the homeschooling moms seem to get it, right? We hear from them, and it's like, so there's little pockets of it. It recurs, right? And it's like you put enough women with the I don't know. The thing is, I think we just do this. Like I did it. I created the Dragon Common Room, for goodness sake. Oh, I need a chat room where we can like write poetry. It's like
and thank you for doing that, by the way. It's awesome.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Modeled on a men's common room like at a university. Okay, fine. But it's that women, given the opportunity, are organizing parties. Right? We do that. We're good at it. And making sure everybody wears the same color.
I just have, it's like high school. And you call somebody up. What are you going to wear? Are you going to wear this? Are you going to that? Are you going to wear this?
Yeah. Okay.
But they're doing it in Congress. It's just, it's just still embarrassing.
Well, I agree but the thing is, if they were doing it in another context, we'd probably be okay with it. They're trying to do it in a context that's meant for something else.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. This is not your high school reunion. This is Congress. Take it seriously.
Well, even so, I mean, they could do it. I'm just trying to say, who's misogynist here? It's women who don't let other women know that being woman is okay, for goodness sake. It's like you made that whole speech in Barbie. It's like, yes, be a woman. Be good at organizing tea parties, for goodness sake. Bringing together the young people and making sure they get married.
Yeah. You need guys to convince the other guys to do that too, though. I think.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Guys, this is your fault. No.
Well, it's 50-50 here.
Yes, it is. And that's what's, sort of sad about it. I was saying on the opposite side, what men do when they're just men alone. I mean, Higgins is right on some levels, which is why it's funny, right? It's like men, where's that one? I lost the women. That men.
And Rex Harrison was stunning in that. He really was.
I want to go watch that now. My Fair Lady, everybody, if you guys didn't remember. That men to each other, unless they're in the social sexual hierarchy, as Vox has described it, Gammas, men are so pleasant, so easy to please, right? It does seem to me that men hanging out with other men just enjoy their each other's company, right? It's like, and women find it deathly boring. You want to do what on the lake for how long with a fish, a stick and a string without a box of drinks and no talking? Are you kidding me?
Scare the fish away.
So boring, right? And women disrupting that, time together for the men are killing society just as much as they are by trying to be in the men's group and make them behave like women, right? Let the guys be guys. Yes, they're boring. They're not you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we think? I feel like we should say that again so that everybody hears. No, the thing is, you can study it. You can see it in the male only video live streams, right? They talk completely differently. From if usually they don't invite women on, except for it's me. It's true, right? And one, I recognize men chatting together, unless it's Milo, right? Chatting together in their live streams are just, they're super calm, right? They just sitting there chatting. They're gonna chat. We're gonna be talking about like the world exploding, but we're still
Rogan is very good like that.
yeah.
I
Oh
would
my gosh,
say.
3 hours long,
Yeah.
sitting there
Yeah,
whispering into his mic.
he's pretty chill, but he manages to keep it interesting.
It's fascinating. I mean, I watch
Yeah.
it occasionally. It's fine if it's not for me, right? That's the thing. It doesn't need to be. It's clearly, and he's a fighter. He's literally a fighter, right? Short as he is, right?
Mhm.
And actual real fighters. I mean, honestly, do not go around posturing about it, right? Because
No,
you don't want to like draw a fight. Are you dumb?
no. Yeah. Also, they don't have anything to prove.
Right. Well, you prove it in the real context, and
Mhm.
yeah, not randomly on the street.
Yeah.
Or in a silly video trying to prove you're tough. It's like, no. That's not gonna convince anybody. It might prove you're cute, but that's a different game.
Cute to 12-year-olds who can't vote yet. Maybe 12-year-old girls.
Okay, so who are anxious about belonging, right? It's like you're appealing back to our, and the thing is, we desperately need better like coming of age rituals for. The only one we have is graduation, right? So we make them graduate in 8th grade. It's like, what are you doing, right? You have kindergarten graduation, and then elementary school graduation, and then middle school graduation. It's like, this is the culture crying out for coming of age rituals other than graduation.
They used to have it for women. I think the Latinos still do. They have the quinceañera.
The quinceañeras, yeah.
Yeah, we used to have, and some communities do. It's more like a wealthy thing though. But they have. Oh gosh, what do they call? They used to be called coming out parties or something out like that, where you were introduced to
debutante
society.
balls.
Debutante balls,
Yeah.
right? They would have those, but that was really for people of a higher social status. So the quinceañeras, I think, is for everybody. I think the closest thing they maybe had to it was a 6-16 birthday party for girls was
Right.
a big thing for a while. But yeah, I mean, something more formal would be good. Even the proms used to be formal, and they're not anymore.
Right.
I don't even think they have much of a dress code, which is sad because it existed to teach young men and young women how to interact socially properly. And since all of the rules have been jettisoned, they don't need to do that anymore.
Well, and therefore they don't do
But
anything. They don't do anything. They're not
Yeah.
dating. I mean, it's chronic, right? And I am,
Yeah.
okay, not just at fencing practice with the high schoolers, but I'm on campus, right? And you can and the surveys and stuff that people are saying the kids these days themselves they don't. I mean, hookup is thankfully, hopefully dying, right? Because they're so miserable.
I think it is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. But now they have nothing, right? There's no courtship. I mean, I was kidding the kids last night saying like, you've got this piece of jewelry. It's like, gesture it to her or something. They don't know what to do. That they thought I was, I mean, they think I'm crazy anyway, but it's the
little gestures that add up that mean a lot, right? Just to be thoughtful. And that's something both young men and young women need to be taught. It's not innate. It needs to be taught.
Well, so the Henry Higgins problem, right? He doesn't get it.
No, he doesn't get it. His mother did teach him, which is why she's frustrated with him.
Right.
Because he just rejected it all because he's just so full of himself.
Well, he thinks he can out. I mean, he's over rationalizing all of the
right. Over rationalizing the irrationality of women.
Well,
right?
we're actually very guys. We're not that difficult. Right. Silent Draco saying boring. The gaps in silence are more important than speaking. Obvious by inspection. Well, maybe to you. But that's the thing. It's like, I remember, talking about, learning from your father. I do remember I really enjoyed when I was growing up, hearing the men, and this, you could get this in the parts of the country that I grew up in, and they still do it now. Right. I was at the reception for the talk that I gave for my brother's event back in
Hmm.
November, posted on Substack, two cultures, science and science and art. But this was the two cultures of men and women, and at this party, completely independently of anything, right? It's all faculty, right? So it's all academics. All the women sat at one table, and all the men sat at another table, except for those of us who were part of
Uh-huh.
a family, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is interesting, and as my brother pointed out to me, this is our part of the country, right? It's like they do, right? All the women go over here and all the men go over there. And I remember that growing up. So I know what it was like. The women all end up in the kitchen washing the dishes.
Hmm.
Right? And if you
Because we
are,
have to be doing something.
if you
Yes.
are a woman and you do not wash the dishes, beware, right? But the men, you can avoid washing dishes if you sit with the men, and the men have their men's conversation, right? And they're totally different worlds. If you've never
Hmm.
experienced that, then you have, maybe it's like the strong gender differences in middle America that Trump appeals to are interesting. To me, they feel completely like instinctual and natural. According to David Hackett Fisher, no, they're not, right? There's different gender norms in other parts of the country. But these, to me, it's
True.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the women sit over there and talk about the things that the women talk about, and the men sit over here and talk about the things the men talk about, and they both are incredibly bored with the other conversation.
Yeah. It would be an interesting sociological study if you could do almost like an undercover boss type thing, only you would go around the country. You would send people out to just observe in social situations like maybe wedding might be a bit too charged, but
Well, a wedding's
something
of,
something
that's
like
one of
that.
those that you'd want to test at different levels. Yeah.
Yeah, you could test it at different levels, but yeah, just observe, just to be a fly on the wall and say, are the women and the men segregating themselves?
Right.
And if so, just try to eavesdrop and see what kinds of conversations they're having. It doesn't have to even be in detail.
Right.
But yeah, I'd totally read that study.
See, that
Sounds
would be
interesting.
interesting, gender studies. And
It would.
and there was, back in the day when I did my gender studies class in college, right? We read Carol Gilligan's In a Different Voice, and she was actually trying at that point to figure out, it's like, why do people like Henry Higgins, who's clueless because he's not paying attention, but why is there a claim that women don't know how to be fair, right? He says that My Fair Lady is a large level pun. I realized saying that, right? Why can't a woman be more like a man? Men are so honest, so thoroughly square, tonally noble, historically fair, right? Um, that that
Oh, it's hilarious.
that in Gilligan's study, she's trying to figure out why women seem in men's versions of things trapped at a lower level of social moral development, right? It's like, why don't
Mm,
we judge in the same way? And I would say, to a certain extent, men who play sports learn well how to be that kind of judge that they're describing, because you learn how to like negotiate the rules, how to acknowledge, my bad, I made the mistake here. You learn to work
mm,
together, and so
yeah.
women's sports, theoretically, we should learn that, and maybe we do. I think women who play sports do have more of that kind of practice,
Hmm.
but we still don't become men in the way we engage in the group, right? And so to the men, the women look like they're silly, and to the women, the men look like they're, I mean, stereotypically too, um, well, like the guy throwing Al Green out for yelling, "Oh, but you need to be for like mercy," right? That the women want to say, "Oh, well, but he meant well."
I can't relate to that at all. I was so happy to see him get kicked out.
I was happy too because I, play sports, right? But it's, it's like, here's the rule. You broke the rule. You're out. Black card.
Yeah, get out. It's real simple. I mean, rules
You're
are
out.
good.
You're
They
out of the
they they
playing
help
field,
society.
right?
Yeah, they help society run smoothly. And
For
and
the
I see
men.
it as a matter of justice. He's trying to take over a meeting that he was not invited to speak at.
Correct.
That's unjust. Yeah.
Right.
So get him out. Don't tolerate it. Don't waste my time. Don't waste anybody's time. He has no right to steal anyone's time. It's theft.
But the
Pretty
women,
simple.
who, okay, so they actually, after they threw him out, the women all like stayed quiet and didn't do anything else except hold their paddles.
Because they might get kicked out.
Because they didn't want to get kicked out, and all it took was Johnson being firm about that one incident, and the rest they just
Yeah.
stopped, which was very interesting. I bet they were going to try other stuff. and they realized
Mm.
they would get thrown out if they did.
Yeah, I didn't see any eggs.
Yeah,
They
they
were
were
gonna
talking
bring
it. They wanted to throw eggs
eggs.
and
Yeah.
something else.
Maybe they tried and it got confiscated on the way in.
Possibly, but
I hadn't
say the
heard.
suffragettes chaining themselves to the rails are trying to be disruptive in that way. And if the men come in and say, "Oh, you have a point. No, fine, you can disrupt," they'll just keep doing it. Whereas if they say no,
And see, here's the problem. So when these women were doing this, they thought it was unjust, and I agreed with them, but they didn't have the right to vote, right? The women today will try to use the same emotional triggers to say it's unjust, it's about justice. That's why I'm
right,
doing it, as if it's some kind of magic shield. Like everybody knows it's not the same thing, but if we use the same language and we act hysterical, then maybe people will associate me with that. And then they did their Foxy boxing video and just killed it all. So please make more of them.
I still disagree. I think the suffragettes were doing the same thing. They
They weren't doing the same thing because they weren't doing it for the same reason. Now the people today will say we're doing it for the same reason, but they're not.
I'm
What's
not
unjust?
persuaded.
I don't like him. I don't like him.
They think
Therefore, it's
Trump is
that he's
unjust.
speaking.
Yeah. They think. I mean, it's like he cheated. Doesn't matter what he does. He cheated.
Nobody except that weird woman from that weird wig wearing woman from California. What's her name?
Which one?
Yeah, she's
The
really
one
old.
with purple hair. She's from New Haven.
No, not
Okay.
purple hair.
I looked her up. She's been there forever, and she's from Connecticut.
She's the one that keeps trying to push her way into, like, I think it was HUD or something like that. Anyway, I lost my train of thought now. Darn it.
Okay, so you're
She's
still trying
cheating.
to contend against my ferocious resistance that that the suffragettes using this kind of tactic had an actual injustice to fight, which was that they weren't part of the
injustice.
I don't agree necessarily.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they were saying.
Right, but so are these women.
Well, this is an actual.
They think they're fighting for justice.
Right, but it is an injustice to be an adult woman and not have the same, legal standing as an adult man.
Why?
In a court.
Well, what? Okay, so the thing is,
they're an adult.
Right. This is the deep difficult premise for like gender studies, and what Mary Douglas was trying to do with anthropology and everything is saying, one, how different are the sexes? We recognize we've played in different roles here, right? We've played that no man is going to coup over Discovery, which is just not going to happen. And if he does, we're going to be worried.
Some men might, but they might, not be heterosexual men.
We don't, so no, right? We get to do that, right? Because we have, okay, anyway. So we've established that there are some differences. They seem to be fairly deep rooted. They seem to have positive and negative elements in both, right? I absolutely will fight to, we need both in society, right? Having all a masculine and all a feminine society will not work, right? God made us male and female. There is a reason that we have both. Mm-hmm. But the division between how much of the rules we follow are the women's rules and how much are the men's rules is constantly in play. And you're saying, oh, she shouldn't have. I mean, what I thought with the suffragettes, if you're wanting to vote, that's different from having legal standing.
Well, I think the reason they wanted to vote because that was one of the legal rights as an adult citizen of the country, that they didn't want to be subject to their husband or their father. That wasn't true in every state. It wasn't true in a lot of them.
Right.
It definitely wasn't true in Texas. Texas was fairly early in granting women equal legal status with men in owning property and inheriting and voting and being in office. But so they wanted every woman in the country to have that right at the federal level.
Right. And then we end up with the very difficult question, which is the politically relevant question to the women in the video, bouncing around, behaving like children,
yeah.
is what is politics?
Oh, I don't think that was it. I think that
Well, I
was,
do, because you were saying at the beginning they were behaving childishly in a situation where they should be serious.
yeah.
And okay, so there is an idea that politics is a certain kind of thing. I mean, just if you guys haven't guessed, right? I think the politics is what the men are doing when they're sitting around, as Silent Draco says, not talking, or that men arrange disputes and um, agreements about things like money flow and whatever. What do men talk about? I don't know. Right? The stuff that when men are in politics, those are the things that get talked about. Women come into politics and they drag in all sorts of other things that may or may not be decidable under that particular kind of circumstance.
Like, can you give me an example?
Well, like
Trying to wrap my head around
the
it.
Department of Education.
That was Jimmy Carter.
Well, yeah, but where's cardigan? Um, and he's also in the 70s, and you saying that the women are voting by that point very vociferously. That means
Well,
loudly
they're
with your voice.
running for office.
Yeah. Yeah.
And having some success.
I mean,
more so in the 80s, I think. But,
my mother
yeah.
always credits Eleanor Roosevelt with all of the social things that she cares about as a Democrat. So I mean, to say the thing that Trump is pissing people off with, particularly certain people, is he's bringing back in tariffs, which is regulating trade in a particular way, doing these diplomatic negotiations, which you have to stay completely poker faced in, right? It's like the hysteria of I'm concerned. It's like, stop worrying. It's like every time every time I now hear any journalist say there's a concern, I'm like,
oh yeah,
not listening anymore. All you're doing is trying to make me worry, right? This is your mother talking about I'm so worried that if you do such and such, this will happen. It's like, look, we're making these decisions, these things are going to happen, you're getting thrown out because you're yelling in this meeting. That men making decisions on historical evidence seem to make them in a different way from the way women make them. And you let women into the political process and you change that decision-making process.
Depends on the woman, I think. I don't remember growing up and seeing a lot of women like screeching hysterically and demanding to be heard and staging sit-ins on the House floor, which happened 8 years ago, and doing all kinds of performative, emotional, manipulative types of tactics.
Like burning their bras.
That's a new thing.
Feminism has always
was that done in Congress?
Well, I did. Okay,
no,
so I'm thinking
I've
got one. Did you see the there's a compilation thing of there's a voiceover thing of there's Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a white woman, sassy white woman, sassy black woman, sassy Latina woman.
Is this when they were fighting over? Yeah.
And the black woman is saying something about her. She's got long false eyelashes, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying something about her eyelashes, and AOC is in there, and they're all being and the sassy one and the sassy one and the sassy. I think that's rather changed the tone.
Yeah,
of
it has, and it's embarrassing.
See, you keep being embarrassed because they won't behave like men.
I'm being embarrassed because they won't behave like adults in a serious job. And these women are doing this because they want attention and they want their own constituents to think they're strong women. And,
yes, they do.
It's like it's a night at the club for them. This is what they think their constituents think of them.
That it's a dance
AOC
club.
Got 3%. I think the AOC got 3% of the vote. I don't think most people in her district actually even voted. I think somebody said it was really low, like 3%. Not because
3% the possible vote, you mean, or
yeah, but
they ran her in a district that doesn't turn out.
Right. As Pelosi said during one of her more rational periods of her life, she said, a glass of water with a D by its name could win in her district. So she was right,
Well, then they played that well if they wanted her in the role.
She was politically savvy. Pelosi was evil but savvy,
Okay, so look, So one, what's interesting about the sociosexual hierarchy that Vox has been working on, everybody will follow the Signal game. We've been, because we're here on Unauthorized, we have to pay attention because he's the dad of the platform. that men play different levels of roles, right? That there's leaders, there's supporters, so Trump as leader, Vance as supporter role of different levels that we're saying, disruptors and guys who
Yeah.
don't fit in the structure, right? So they've got labels, right? Women have different roles too, right? And we tried last year to talk. We just like it keeps coming around. Why does it happen always in March? That
Does
there,
it? The Ides of March?
it's something like that. I don't know. Yeah, but Caesar's wife had a bad dream, don't you know? That or was that Pilate's wife? I think Caesar's wife has a bad dream too. She sees
I
him
think it was
being
both of
killed.
them.
Yeah. See, well, women
Yeah.
you got to listen to us, but under certain circumstances, that
That's a real thing, by the way. But go on.
women do also have hierarchy they play, and then we end up in the fight over whether or not it's relational to the men that they're with. But I mean, women's groups they'll have the woman who sets the tone of the group for sure, and that's what we've been trying to talk about for a year now, saying there will be one woman. She sets the tone of the group. All of the other women look to her, whether, to wear pink or have a paddle or not talk or not clap or, she's somehow in charge of whether the group behaves in particular ways. And she has her supporting characters. I mean, yeah. Can we tell in that video who made the decision to get them all in the video? Whose idea was it? Right? Most of them were just going along with it because they are subservient to whichever woman said, we need to do this and you have to do it or else, right?
I think it was, if I had to guess, I'd say it was a consultant to the DNC.
Something like that. But they were all subtly, socially pressured into doing that, even though it looks ridiculous, right? And they're probably like, why did I do that now? But they know that they still had to do it because otherwise they're not part of the team, right? That there's different age roles that women have depending on whether they're younger, mother, maiden, mother, and crone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Whether you're in the game, marriageable, married, or out of the game because of whatever choices you've made or because you're that old. And that creates certain kinds of relations for us. No woman ever wants to, I mean, why do you not, the reason you don't want to be crone level is you're invisible. Right. You literally become invisible. Nobody pays any attention to you anymore. Nobody cares. And it's incredibly interesting to feel happening as you age because it will, ladies, it will happen. There will come a time when you realize you've walked into a room and literally nobody noticed. I mean, it means you can spy on everybody, but
I was just thinking,
it does
an excellent fly on the wall.
It makes you an excellent fly on the wall because somehow there's something that's gone out to say you're not in competition anymore. Which means you better have a good male protector because otherwise you end up like in Apocalypto as the mom of the mother-in-law who just gets sold off. It doesn't even get sold as a slave because nope, she's useless.
Well, you could look at it that way.
Or we're the grandmothers.
Or you could look at it as the other women no longer see you as competition and therefore maybe they'll be nicer to you.
Maybe. It depends on the women, right? So Rogue Wave says,
Yeah.
The old wise wife who observed the men discussing politics knew it was all silliness, and she got along with the real business of the domestic household, i.e. raising the children. Yes! Right? The men are going to be making their decisions. Let them make their decisions. You have a really important stuff to do, right?
Again, I cannot relate to this at all, but go on.
Really?
Yeah.
It makes sense to me, even though I grew up, my dad left, like we tell the story. My mom went back to work, raised by a single mom and stuff. It still makes sense to me to say that the thing that the women knew that what they were doing was the most important thing in the world. And the men are over there talking about, I don't know, the price of cotton.
Well, I think the women knew it was the most immediately important thing that needed to be done because the men weren't going to do it. And it was their job, but also men aren't as attentive as women are to domestic things naturally. But that doesn't mean that they maybe didn't have opinions on what was being discussed in the broader world.
My. Right, but then they talk to. I mean, it's like what's interesting about it is you see. Okay, so one, the things that we're not dealing with, the layers of marriage customs, which also affect all of this, right? It's like when there's monogamy and the wife has the husband's ear, one, the reason that Higgins starts off with the exasperating, irritating, vacillating, calculating, agitating, maddening, infuriating hags,
Mm.
right? Those are the women who are pestering the men constantly. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. And so, the men, the stereotypical men are, I got to get away from my wife because she just won't shut up, right? That
Yeah.
you are using your voice. One of my professors did a paper called Persuasive Voices, and it was talking about how the women in the 12th and 13th centuries, particularly the noble women, would talk and the priests tended to ally with the women against the noblemen. So, right, that the women could talk their husbands into doing things, and they did, right? You see it over and over, and never mind Lady Macbeth, right? That the women were always behind the scenes talking the men into making certain decisions. So claiming that just because we're not at the table, we don't have a role,
Yeah, I don't think that's ever been true.
that's never been true.
Yeah. No, women do have influence with their husbands if they have any kind of a good relationship. They do.
Right.
The ones who don't have influence with their husbands are ones who don't have a good relationship.
Well, and the
Pretty
obverse,
simple.
right? It's like if the husbands simply tell them what to do, they don't have a good relationship either, right?
Right. That's not
There's a
right.
problematic relationship there to begin with.
And that would cause serious problems for a man of any kind of stature back then, when it was more important women didn't work, because the other men could tell
Oh
when he
yeah.
was being bossed around by the woman.
Oh yeah.
There's whole genres of plays in England about that. Wasn't it Punch and Judy or something?
Yeah. I think those are actually the
Type
Punch and Judy
plays.
comes from Italy, right? I think it's a part of
Oh, does it? I
I
didn't
think
know
it's a
that.
part of the Commedia dell'arte, which we were studying for other reasons.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Punchinella, and yeah. But okay, so
yeah.
it's a trope as old as Aristotle, that they're jokes about Aristotle being ridden by his wife, like, and in
Oh,
medieval iconography they'll have her actually riding on him, right? He's crawling around and
oh,
she's sitting on his back. So yeah, and this
had some
is
opinions about Aristotle back then.
this is the point that Chaucer is making in The Wife of Bath's tale, which everybody reads in high school, when
Yes.
the point is, women want control, they want sovereignty. The Wife of Bath is, I mean, she buried 5 husbands, right? She's a wife, like, over and over. She's a widow over and over and over again.
Right. Which is why she's so wealthy.
These jokes about these bossy women, right? It's like, it's a real thing, right? Men as husbands have a hard time standing up to their wives. Frankly, I mean, the other side of what I knew growing up is, you can do, the men will joke and say, "She's my boss," and they mean it.
They do mean
They
it.
totally
They try
mean
to make
it.
it a joke,
They
but
try to, no, they
mean it.
totally mean it.
And it's not good when it's that situation.
No, and I'm seems like I'm not really happy hearing that, right? Why are you letting her boss you
Yeah.
around?
Right.
So that's I mean, situation monogamy is, you're in that kind of relationship. Obviously, with, if one man can have multiple wives, that's a whole different dynamic between the men and the women. It's interesting that in the societies that practice that, there's much stronger separation between the men and the women. You don't want some guys. I don't really understand. It's like, you've got polygamy, but it's not permanent, because the man can you can divorce the woman just by giving her a piece of paper and saying you're divorced. There's terrible concern about whether or not the women are cheating with other men. So it's very repressive. Like, we see the honor killings and things like that in those cultures. These are complicated dynamics. And of course, gender studies as a field has reduced it all to, misogyny. And, we need to fight the patriarchy and destroy all of, without, it's like, definitely, I think someone said this to Chesterton. Oh, Rogue Wave is saying G.K. Chesterton's writing on men and women is what is wrong with the world is on point for this discussion. We should look at that. Chesterton's point about, tearing stuff down before you understand why it's there, right? We've definitely torn down monogamy and don't have sex before you're married. Like,
Yeah.
Matthew de Clermont's father doesn't let them, right? It's like, there's a point to it. What was the point, right? Why were all of these, guardrails in place? What was it protecting everyone against? And not having women having a political voice in the men's discussion chamber is one of the ones that I think we gave up without thinking it through properly.
Why is that? I mean, without using the TikTok foxy boxing women as an example, why would you think that was a bad idea?
Well, I mean, going back to what I said, that I think men negotiate with other men differently, and you throw a woman in the mix and it changes everything. They can't negotiate in the same way with each other.
I say, I think, well, with just women, maybe not. I think they can. I think we're capable of following rules for engagement.
No, we're not. We really aren't. And this is my point in Lobster Side, my cartoon that I drop on everybody constantly. I recognize myself as one of the women that goes into these men's spaces. Once I'm there, it's not the same space anymore because I'm me, right? They adjust their behavior to my presence, which means I have never in my life experienced as such an all male situation because I can't, right? I'm there. I mean, in the subtle ways of the Texas Panhandle, masculine, feminine. After dinner, you wash the dishes, or you go and sit on the couches and talk with men. I forgot what I was going to say there. I mean, I always wanted to be in that conversation. The washing that I can wash the dishes, but it's like, oh, I don't want to talk about this, right? I want to go over and talk about what they're talking about.
Right. Same.
Yeah. No, and it's like
I get bored to tears around most large groups of women and the things they want to talk about.
And they're not bored. I mean, we're the odd ones.
No, they're not.
They're having a fine old time. They enjoy it. They choose it. And the thing is, what I recognize is I will choose it too. It's just a different group of women. It's called fencers, right? It's like they're subsets, and
But these are inherently social situations you're describing and not official business situations.
Right. Okay. So, I was trying to think. I feel like I can, thanks to the internet and the fact of the live streams and stuff, sort of, eavesdrop on the men's conversations because they don't know that we're watching, right? And so they'll have more natural ones of men only, and they are different. If you think about it in these terms, they're like Silent Draco was saying. It's like they'll have different rhythms and agreements and pushbacks and different levels of energy and stuff like that. But you drop a woman into one of those same group of guys, it will change more than if you just add another man, right? It's not the number of people that suddenly changed it. There's a whole dynamic situation that the men, for whatever levels of reason that they are going to adjust to. Either if you're younger, they'll adjust to being courteous to you in a particular way. If you're older, it all changes, right? And the kinds of things that the men are typically trying to decide in those situations are things women don't usually want to talk about. And I've seen this, seen this completely in academia, whereas certain fields in the academic field of the discipline, right, English or history or something like that, certain topics in those fields have vanished. Why? The women aren't interested, right? They all came in and said, why aren't you talking about what we want to talk about? And so they all talk about what they want to talk about. Eventually the men just say, okay, fine. And they leave and they go talk about wherever they talk. And that was the joke about our doing the what do men want? And we read all their poetry, right?
Oh,
nobody teaches that poetry in English departments anymore.
Well, my son did actually study some of that in high school. So they still are teaching some of them. But they also teach a lot of junk.
Stop reading my point. The chat agrees with me, actually.
No, they read far less of it than you and I did back in the 80s. That's for sure.
Well, there's one woman on Substack who was apparently in the English, I think I mentioned her, the English department at Columbia recently, and she's just scathing about how awful it was. What happened in academia, never mind why it's Marxist, right? The reason is it's all women agreeing on the same topic, right? And it just happened to fall on, maybe not just, right? But Marxism and gender studies and post-colonial or something like that. It was the topic they all agreed on. And now they're stuck because they're all wearing pink and they can't change color without that woman Judith Butler telling them that they're out, going to be out if they change topic. It's really hard to change topic in academia, and it's not necessarily because of the cultural war. It's it's just
Yeah.
because the group can't change the color of their suit.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that means women's groups don't tolerate disagreement. They don't like it. They
So,
won't fight.
but
That means that going back to the bouncy bouncy TikTok video, they won't actually deal with the competition that the men actually enjoy. Right? Men enjoy
so the
stressing each other out and testing themselves. And so they'll tell you, it's like Trump is constantly testing. It's like, if I say this, what happens? Okay, you did that. Now we know more. Right? It
Well,
drives
Trump's
the women.
hilarious because he treats the women the same way he would treat the men,
No,
and they
he
don't like it.
doesn't.
And that,
Well,
well, no,
he
well, I'm
does
talking
under
about like
those
when he talks back, like,
circumstances. Yeah.
right, like in public spaces, like during debate type things, he will talk to them. If they start talking to him in an insulting manner, he'll give it right back to them,
Right.
which is what you would do with a guy, right?
Right.
And this is, I think, another thing Chesterton had said. I don't not sure if this is Chesterton or one of his contemporaries. But apparently, some woman said to him, "Why don't you just treat me just like a man? Why can't women be treated like a man?" He said, "Well, if we treated you like a man, you would slap us."
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And they do. They want to slap him. They
Oh yeah.
hate Trump.
They hate him
They hate Trump
because
because
they're used to having the
Yeah.
men defer to them.
Exactly. They're used to deference, and he will give it to him because he's gonna give the same thing to them that he gives to the men that treat him the same way. So he's actually an egalitarian that way, and they
Oh
don't
yeah.
like it. They do not like it.
Right. Because he's showing, he's giving, I mean, it's like literally giving them exactly what they say they want, which
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what I'm hearing is like the problem isn't that there's women in Congress. The problem is that there's many women in Congress grouping together and then engaging in groupthink.
But they're going to
And
do that. Women
control.
do that. That's our strength.
Oh, is it a strength? Not really. I mean, you're shutting down everybody else's voices and opinions. How's that a strength?
Because it actually like maintains the parish.
Doesn't maintain the university though.
Universities were not women's spaces. It destroys men's spaces.
Hmm.
Right. So women were, yes, we can't like debate or dispute anything in university anymore. I wonder why. Right. They were literally, I mean, it's like the 12th and 13th century scholastic practice in the university was, public debates. Right. Where you quaestiones, right? You'd stand up and they'd have to do this, right, as like part of the group, like hazing of the intellectual hazing. They'd have to stand up and people would throw questions at them, and they, we have records of the answers that they gave, that they'd be like thrown out, and that's why some scholastic questions become so silly, because they're just testing the envelope. Could we do this? Could we do that? What do you think about this? And in some of their more like natural philosophical debates, they're as crazy as some stuff that you might see. I don't know, ethers are entertaining now, of what if, right? They try these guys in the 12th and 13th, 14th centuries, the university guys tried all of this. It was a debate context. The women were in convents writing, mystical, love stories about their vampire lover. No, sorry. They really were. Have you ever read, Gertrude the Great's images, descriptions of her visions of Christ? I'm not kidding.
No, I have not. No.
Trust me, it's hot, right? So it's God, after all.
That's a little disturbing.
Yeah, well, that's okay. It is very disturbing, and that's what Henry James, William James thought in his Varieties of Religious Experience, when he described Gertrude the Great as, prurient and sex obsessed, sort of. He didn't. James didn't say it quite like that, but that when Casanova was reading, Sor Maria de Agreda's, visions of having conversations with Mary, he said it nearly drove me mad, but of course she was a nun, right? So women and this is so ironic, right? It's like where we started, we came back around to the beginning. Okay, I'll read Rogue Wave in a second. That women need to be in academia. Why? They can behave just like men. No, because we'll ask different questions. You need the diversity of the women in academia, because we'll ask different questions from the men. It's like, yeah, but you won't even listen to the men's questions anymore because you find them dull, like fishing. Rugwave says, G.K. Chesterton says, there are only three things in the world that women do not understand: liberty, equality, and fraternity.
Ironic, huh?
Whether they're
Goddess agrees and
Freemasons or not.
disagrees.
I mean, look, guys, you've
Yeah.
made some mistakes all by yourselves, but, or maybe not. Maybe the women influence those too. It's like the Genesis story of the, fall has it exactly right. If you don't have the relation between the sexes right, everything falls apart. Everything hangs on
Yeah.
this. So important. Without having the
Mhm.
relationship between the sexes right, they don't know how to, court. They don't know. They don't make families. They don't grow up. Nobody has any, social life. It's terrible.
There's one Egyptian woman told me very many years ago. She said, men fell apart when women used to be the backbone of men. They would stand behind them and hold them up. And when they faced them or went beside them, the men just crumbled.
Yeah.
And the society crumbled along with it.
Yep.
Pretty good image, actually.
It's important, and it's like the women we gave up the good role that we had. So all of our flaws are mirror images of our strengths, usually, right? It's like the thing that is super irritating about the congresswomen wanting to be good girls and be cheerleaders, right, is good if that's what you're doing. I love I wanted to be a cheerleader. What are you going to say about cheerleaders now? I don't know what I'm going to do with this conversation.
No, there's nothing wrong with cheerleaders, but they're not cheerleaders. That's again, it's just triggering my anger and embarrassment that they did this. And now, because of stuff like this, people think we're all frivolous and irrational.
We are. What are you talking about?
We are not all frivolous and irrational. Those women were, but
have I told you about how much I love the vampire story yet? Yes, we are. Stop being so defensive. I autistic as I am, obsessed with pattern recognition and data and such. I'm very appreciative of Data Republican. Thank you for your work.
She's awesome.
She's awesome, right?
That's awesome.
I've spent too much time trying to match my skills to men whom I admire and recognizing I can't do it. And not because I'm dumb, right? Like I know from my standardized tests that I'm pretty well, there's not many more, right, above me. But I don't have the same you could say talent, right? It's like the gift of attention that men whose work I deeply admire. I'm thinking, scholarship of people, like giant catalogs of things and editions and, worrying about philology in the way that they do. It's like you'll find, not just mathematics, right? We need more women in these fields. It's like, well, maybe they're not the women in those fields because they're not actually to their strengths.
And they are being pushed into those fields.
And then you push out the people that are actually like drawn to it and love it and will like be sad if they don't get to do mathematics every day.
Or will be very good at it, without, breaking a sweat. And we'll do things like build airplanes that don't crash, It's important. There's a very important knock-on effect. So, just pushing women into anything. It'd be like pushing men into things that aren't suitable for them. Both of those things would be bad.
Right. And that's what we've been doing. Instead of, say gender equality, it's like, there's no such thing. It's really, very, very, it's like, I want people to excel at what they are. And, that women have enormous skills that we haven't been, cultivating because we've been what was this saying? Yeah, this one. You could be a lover or fighter, whatever you desire. How about a mom, right? Everybody always says that. It's like, where's the mom in this list? Life is like a runway and you're the designer. This is obviously, it's like we've talked about this, everybody knows it. Let's say it again, right? That the only thing that, ironically, you're stuck in being the performative debutante. You can be anything you want as long as you stay at pink debutante age, right? And poor Madonna or any of the I mean, I think one of the things well, I don't know. I'm responding to look, I'm a 60-year-old woman who competes in a sport, right? That's a bit childish, right?
I think it's cool.
Well, so do we, right?
I do.
But there's a, we can't be competing at everything all the time at different ages in our life, right? It's like when you're young and courting, you should be competing in a certain way that you're not when you're married.
Mhm.
Right. And then the older women in that video were bouncing around like this, like the young ones. And it's like, no, there are women have different roles, and we're all being pushed into the same pink one.
Mm. Well, it's like politics itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is if you're going to be a woman in politics, you have to be a liberal pro-abortion woman.
Right. Yeah.
Or you're not a real woman.
Or you're not a real woman. Real women, all their signs are saying that. Real women, well, okay, what? Real women what?
Right.
Force each other to all behave the same way? What is it that real women do? Please tell us.
Yeah, real women do what they're told by other women in power, right?
I'm clearly not a real woman.
Me either.
Such a failure.
Oh well.
Right, and the guys. Okay, so going back to what earlier in the conversation, Daydreamer was saying, right? The women who will do the guy stuff. I remember loving being that when I was younger, right? It's like you got to hang out with the guys and do the guy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so much stress having to wash the dishes. No, I want to talk about history and stuff.
Yeah.
Except for I wouldn't always want to talk about the stuff the guys were talking about. I am obviously thinking about more recent conversations. It's like, they can go on and on and on. It's so boring. Really? No. Just stop. Can we please talk about something more interesting, like social relationships and vampires? Right?
Yeah. History of nights. Yeah.
Okay, we will start our dating channel soon, guys. We'll tell you how to, like, women are actually very simple. We got 4 minutes. Shall we tell them what's the secret? They hung around and watched all this time.
Give them a little bit of the secret.
Oh, I did this. Okay, I think this is women are going to worry. That's our job, because if your mother's not worrying about you, the world is going to fall apart.
If we don't worry, people die.
If we don't worry, people die. And all of you know, your mother is sending you reports on the weather in your city from wherever she is. If she's not worried about it, you won't know it's snowing.
If you tell your mother not to worry, you may as well tell her to stop loving you, because that's what we hear.
That's what we're here for. Women worry.
Yeah.
Men need to... all you need to do, this is the only thing you need to do. Let me say, I have to say it exactly right, because if you say it wrong, you're doomed. I'm not a guy, but I can remember when the guys in my life that were able to say it to me, and I'm trying to capture that right. It's gonna be okay. That's it. Whoops. That's all you need to learn to say. It's gonna be okay. I've got it. Oh, but I'm worried. Oh, but what? I'm worried. It's okay. If you tell her to calm down, you're doomed, right? So just don't go there. Just forget it. Forget it, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. So this is like we're like two parts of the same brain. Okay, my husband and I actually do have this joke that, like, together we make one functioning adult. So that's why if you separate us out, like, we're both insane. The woman worries. So and the thing is, I think there is like a cognitive, if you like the Evo Psych stuff, which is nonsense in its own way. Apparently you like, Evo Psych gender studies and get away with this kind of thing. One person needs to be sitting around, doing textile labor, the textile, a very interesting thing that I learned reading about Anglo-Saxon burials now, that they can understand that there's like continuity of the female population because the thread work stays the same.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
like because
Oh, what an
they know how to
interesting way to
like
look at it.
spin particular ways, and I guess the
Yeah.
Briton women did it differently than the Anglo-Saxon, and so you could right. Okay, so the women are sitting around, kids, dogs who finally fell asleep under my chair, doing all of that kind of work that women have, at least in our tradition, done a lot of
Mm-hmm.
worrying, which means that like you're this is the like the power generator of possibilities, right? Women are really good at what if, so you can sit at home by yourself all day. Don't do that because then you'll go nuts. This is why
Yeah.
the online is so tempting, right? You worry together. So you're sitting around worrying, considering all of the possible things, right? If you don't do that, your husband will never think of them. Not on the in a bazillion years, because that's not what he's doing. He's fixing the thing that you gave him yesterday to worry about.
That's true. Yeah.
See? See?
Yeah.
So,
Mention
guys,
something in passing and they're like, now I have to get up and do it.
yeah, because that's what they're good
No,
at. They're
you
really
do it
good
right
at
now. He says, nope,
task.
nope, I got to do it.
Everybody says this, right? Guys are really good at task oriented. Deltas, give them a task. They want to do it, right? Okay. So, women's role is to sit around worrying, inventing tasks.
Honey-do lists. Yeah.
Right? And men is, I've got it. And now everybody's happy. I've solved the world. See, we did it. We sat around worried about it and nobody died. But,
You're welcome.
but the thing is, you have to stay in your lane, right? Because, and this is, the other thing is like what we're enjoying about Trump is decision. It's like, it's so refreshing. Here's a decision.
So
here's a
satisfying.
decision.
Oh
Here's
my
a decision.
gosh.
Because women will short circuit that. If you give us the opportunity, we will worry. Oh, but what if?
Mm-hmm.
I've got it. See how simple it is? You're welcome. Give us money. Because we need like pretty dresses and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, right. A rogue wave. Okay, so say, don't say a don't. You're doomed there. Just say, it's going to be okay. I've got it. Just use that part, right? It's going to be okay. I've got it. Your life will be happy, right? So not calm down. Don't say calm down. Finally got it. This is going to make marriage so much easier. Thanks, ladies. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Nobody died.
Nobody. See? If we work together as a team, it all comes together. I'm worried. Don't worry. I've got it. Practice that. Come back to us next week and tell us how you did. Thanks, guys. You bit evening all. They're behaving like narcissists. No taste. Oh, Annie says that's what's happening with the women in the video. Yes, they are.
Absolutely.
Our role is to worry and figure out things that need doing. Guys, your role is to say, thanks, I've got it. I'm going to take care of it. We'll all be happier.
Yes.
Time's up. Send us your likes and loves and subscriptions and tell everybody how cool this particular video was. It solved everything. Good night.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. This is what you say, guys. Silent Draco silently says, it's already done.